the weapon, pull the cocking handle back,
building log cabins, bunkers, things like that.
open the magazine, hold it past the clip. So the clip, 5 rounds, 14.5mm, inserted from below.
So this one's semi-automatic, so 5 round clip, and the whole thing goes underneath. So the quicker you want to pull the trigger,
normally now the bolt would automatically fly forward. I'm going to have to just depress the follower. That's now cocked, ready to fire. Safety catch on this side of the receiver. To fire it, it's an underhand grip, rubber butt, and you must hold the weapon tight and lean into it. The trigger is hinged at the bottom as opposed to the top on most weapons. That's fired. It will now fire again as fast as you can pull the trigger for 5 rounds. Then the bolt is held open. Open the magazine, the empty clip will fall out, put a new clip in. It will penetrate 40mm of armour plate at around 400 metres range. The sights are calibrated out to 1500 metres. That's as far as it will throw around. Effective against the German Panzer 1, 2, 3, early models of the Panzer 4. It was due to the anti-tank rifles of the Russian army that the Germans put the side skirts on the Panzer 2s, Panzer 3s and 4s. These were deployed at company strength. So you'd have 120 rifles in a company deployed like so, firing crosswise over the battlefield. Built from 1941 to 1945, designed within 6 months of the German invasion. After the war, the Red Army stopped using them. They were obsolete by this stage. But apparently they're now being used today in the Ukraine. It's all about layers.
And the wool was more effective in winter
Yes.
than the German clothing.
Yes. Oh yeah, very much so. The boots are better as well. Boots, rubber soles, no metal, no studs. The studs transmits cold to the feet. This part is leather, the uppers are synthetic, so cheaper to produce. You don't wear socks, you wear foot wraps, which is a medieval idea. I've got foot wraps on now. It's simply a piece of cloth about so long. You put your foot onto it, fold it over the toe, fold it this way, fold it over, wrap it round, tuck it in. It will slightly come undone as you walk and it will pad out the boot. The Russian army only went to wearing socks about 3 years ago and there was a massive outcry against it. It came up in the Russian Duma, the parliament. They thought it was a dreadful idea going to socks, but it's unhygienic. Of course, foot wraps are very cheap to produce, but the German army copied the idea, so it couldn't have been that bad. If the Germans copied it, it must have been good. Again, they come in summer weight and in winter weight, and cheap to make, easy to produce. If you've got no foot wraps, someone's curtains, tear them up, it makes foot wraps for the unit. You're told to fight.
So orphans were taken into the regiment?
Yes, and you see youngsters looking about 13, 14 years old, highly decorated with Order of the Red Star. The problems they had then after the war, it's like child soldiers today in Africa. They become very brutalised. When you get in your own way at the point of a gun, there was problems with them after because the childhood had been lost. But it's an interesting point in history.
Is that an anti-tank grenade?
Yes. Yeah, RPG-1. This is a replica. Not that you would really know it. So it's a hollow charge warhead, magnetic. Quite effective because you'll throw it onto ideally the engine deck of the tank.
After a couple of years, people got used to it. You have to counter it.
So you pull it and throw it into
Yeah.
the mag.
Yeah.
And will stick to it.
You would use that same tactic for so long.
The Russians were quite keen on anti-tank grenades,
Yeah.
various types. this is really the most common.
How effective was it?
Effective if you got it onto the engine deck.
Yeah.
Then it was good. Curiously, the German army covered their vehicles with Zimmerit anti-magnetic mine paste. The Russians didn't use magnetic mines. Neither did the British or the Americans. The Germans did, but they thought, well, if we've got that technology, other armies must have as well. But they didn't. It's quite curious. Of course, you've got the Molotov cocktail.
Yeah. Just turn to the events.
Yeah, which is just, you know, a vodka bottle full of petrol or diesel and a wick. Of course, we don't call it a Molotov cocktail, that would be politically wrong. It's Incendiary Mixture Number 1 is the official title. The Russian army contracted Zeiss to build this scope. Once the Russians had got it in hand, they decided to modify it, make it simpler. As ever, ease of production. Then it became the PEM, PE modified. Then eventually they went to a much simpler scope called the PU, which we've got on the SVT-40 rifle there. It's a fixed focus, so you just focus in by moving your eye closer to the optics. These adjustments for windage and elevation, obviously. PU scope is a good workman-like scope. It's three crosshairs, again like the Germans. Yeah. If you want to look, you're welcome.